Hi everyone, it's Christina Edwards back with another book review. This time the book is Never Split the Difference. The book is around negotiating skills by someone named Voss, who spent over 20 years at the FBI as the lead negotiator for hostage situations internationally. And it was so interesting, and it can apply not just in work settings, but also in home. Call out to all of you parents of teenagers. This is a great book. So why is it different? Like, what is unique or different about it? You know, some of the basic skills of like what it's relying on aren't different than best practices that you would have heard. Emotional intelligence, really understanding someone's perspective, active listening. But the techniques that Voss talks about of how to leverage those really were unique to us and was something really interesting that I dove in and started using right away in my day-to-day life. So let's talk about the core of what makes this unique. It really is recognizing that decision making in people's lives typically is emotionally driven and then backed up and validated by logic. And that's different than a typical negotiation or conversation where you really are trying to approach it from a logical perspective and have the other person see the logic of your opinion and expressing to them your thoughts or your solutions. This really starts with the other person and actually has them starting to solve the problems that you have for you without them realizing that that's really what you're doing. Now, don't worry, this is not some manipulative tactic. This really is just slowing down and using active listening and understanding where that person's coming from, and a group of techniques that help you end up uncovering a solution that's better for everyone than something that is just meeting in the middle of where you happen to start. So let's talk about a couple of specifics. One is called labeling. So when you're in a situation that's emotional, regardless of where this is in your life or work, one of the things that you can do is start to label those emotions. So when you hear someone start to get anxious about something, you can say, it sounds like, and name what it is that it sounds like they're feeling, or it feels like, or it looks like. And when you do that, what you do is you build trust and you build a relationship or deepen the relationship you have with them because they feel heard and they feel understood. And you actually take the stress and the temperature down because they feel safer in the environment of, okay, someone's listening to me, someone hears it, and it typically gets them talking more. One of the really great things about getting them talking more is there's also more information you can find. And anytime that you're trying to get to a place with someone else where you agree on something, if you have more information, you are set up in a better position to find that solution that's going to work better for everyone. So a couple of other last minute things that I thought was really interesting in the book. One is it really talks about not driving to yes. You actually want to drive sometimes to no. And that's just so foreign to me. Like, why do you want them to say no? When you have someone able to say no, especially earlier on in your conversation, it helps them feel like they're in control. They set a boundary, they feel comfortable, and they feel more calm. And you know some of the areas that they really don't agree with. Or you specifically ask a question that lends itself to being a no response so that they start to feel more comfortable that they can set those boundaries. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, instead of getting them to say yes or no, one of the biggest things you can do is get them to say that's right. Because what that does is it shows whatever you're saying back to them, that they feel heard and that you understood what their perspective was, and they're acknowledging that you've got that understanding, and it gives you such a better place to move forward. So those are some of the big tips that I found in this book in terms of just how to apply to any everyday life. I think it's a really interesting one. Well, if you would like to learn more about this, we actually have a workshop coming up. That's right, a time that we can actually talk through this book. We're really excited about this because one of the things that's really important about this book is learning how to apply it in day-to-day life and in real estate. And so we're going to take a number of inspection finding results, both talking to clients, negotiating back and forth with buyers, and how the inspector shows up in those conversations. And we're gonna walk through those together, workshop them, learn some of your best practices, and share with you what we're doing within our business and how we're showing up to try to support you and the client along this crazy roller coaster of buying and selling homes. We would love to see you there. You are invited. November 14th is our next quarterly workshop, and the first few people that do sign up to come to the workshop, they will get a copy of Full Fee Agent, which is actually a book that Voss wrote specifically for real estate agents And it is focused a little more upfront on setting that relationship up with your client and the fees and the value you provide and how you're perceived. But really great book, focused on real estate. We're not going to cover that on the workshop, but it does have a lot of the same fundamental skills as in the book. We are excited. Can't wait to see you there.